Oh,
Always.
I wish that
Welcome
wasn't.
back. Welcome back to the Meet Us in the Ring podcast. It is Mary and Maddie as always. As you guys can see, we have a special guest today, Ruby Raze. Thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate this. This has been like a month or more in the making, but we're finally here.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. My October was like super packed.
No worries. Well, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself, plug your socials, whatever you feel like, whatever you feel like saying, and then we'll get started.
Okay. Well, for those that are watching that don't know me, I am Ruby Raze. I am known as the equal opportunity ass kicker because my propensity to fight males as well as females. Currently, you could watch me on WoW Women of Wrestling. I wrestle as Reina Del Rey on there, and depending where you are, couldn't tell you where you're going to watch it. But if you go to our website, www.wowe.com, you can figure out where you're going to watch it.
Perfect.
All right.
I see that Maddie kind of has like the WoW color scheme going on in her background.
Yeah.
That
Get
like light
into
purple hue.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty nice. It's nice.
Thank you.
Well, Maddie, do you want to go first?
Yes. So every time, and we don't have guests on here very often, but when we do, I like to do my research. So my first question is, and I have them here so I can be professional. You were PCW Ultra Women's Champion for over 600 days. What was your favorite title defense from that reign? Can you tell us about it?
COVID. Actually, that was my favorite title defense because I actually got the women's championship January 2020, I want to say, and I took the title off of Sumi Sakai, and then literally, I think we're getting ready to do our next show, and then COVID hit, and California got shut down. So that's really why I had the title for so long. I'm sure I would have defended it just as long, if not longer, but we wound up going into COVID after that. So that was the weirdness that happened there.
Oh,
Fair enough.
yeah, that's so crazy. Like just how literally you can go from, yeah, I'm traveling, wrestling, doing all these things, and it's like, nope, everything has to stop. And like that was such a wild time. It felt like a fever dream.
It was completely wild. Fever dream is actually the best description of it, because you go from, at that given point, I was about 12 years in the business and traveling every weekend, sometimes during the week. It's like 3 days gone, 4 days back, 2 days gone, 3 days back, to nothing, absolutely nothing. And that was, it was a big shock to the system, but I was down here in Southern California, and I'm really good, like, friends with B-Boy, who's down here too. And we ended up breaking COVID protocol and wound up hanging out with each other because we're just like, we're not doing this. You can't see anybody's stuff. So it was really kind of nice. Me and my friends from down there wound up just going surfing all the time. We surfed during COVID. Instead, we couldn't wrestle, so we surfed.
Well, I want to backtrack just a little bit. So you said you've been wrestling for 12 years, or is that as of 2020? How long have you been wrestling?
16 years, but that's 5 of those years I spent as a manager, like a wrestling manager for various people, mostly Tyler Bateman and the original Violence Unlimited, which was Simon Gotch, Tyler Bateman, and Funny Bone. So that was the first 5 years of my career.
And what got you into wrestling? Like, what was it that drew you to it?
Glow when I was a child. Like, I was such an itty bitty back in the day when Glow was on TV, and that's honestly what got me into wrestling was Glow. And then I grew up, and my brother was a I don't want to say collegiate. He was a high school wrestler, and they used to do these really cool things where they would bring wrestling mats to our house in the middle of the night, and they'd hold, it was almost like Fight Club, but for wrestling in our front yard. So I got to sit there and watch it as a kid. And then my brother taught me wrestling, And, my brother's a state champion. My father was a wrestler and a boxer. His father was a wrestler and a boxer. Wow. So it's kind of just, it's
in your blood.
Yeah.
That's so cool though. And you're currently wrestling in, what is it, Santino Bros? Is that like where you do most of your shows?
That is my that's my school. That's where I came up in, Santino Brothers Wrestling. Currently I am contracted to WOW Women of Wrestling, which severely inhibits my independent wrestling shows that I can do.
Oh, okay.
However, I'm still free to train wherever, so I'll train at Santino. I'm not doing, honestly, right now, as of date right now, I'm not doing much of anything because just found out I have a torn meniscus. So
oh no,
I'm gonna have surgery, and then sucks. Like it's been terrible for the last 2 months. Like I could hardly walk, and I knew something was wrong, but I finally got the verified results, and it's torn pretty bad. So
I feel like that's the most common injury amongst wrestlers. Like it's just those knees.
It's the knees. It's usually a lot of people get like a torn ACL. I don't know which one that is specifically. I know the meniscus is like ligaments inside, and apparently I tore mine enough so it's like hanging off the inside of my knee and it's hanging there. So
oh no.
But I'm getting surgery, so I will be fine.
Yeah. Maddie, did you want to go?
So I saw this like in your kind of I think it was one of your bios on social media, and then you said it at the beginning. Your nickname is the Equal Opportunity Ass Kicker. I love that. I just want to know like more about that. Like, where did that come from? Like, when did you kind of pick that out?
I actually, interestingly enough, I don't think I picked that out. That kind of just came to me. So when I started wrestling at Santino Brothers in training, I got to wrestle really quick. And they were giving me a bunch of small guys. Like when I say small guys, I mean like not to like bag on anybody, Eli Everfly size, like small guys to wrestle. And at one given point, I got just frustrated because like, I'm a 5'9" female. I'm towering over these guys that you're giving me. Like I don't get it. Like there's no challenge here. All my matches are easy. So I went to my trainers and I said, hey, I want some bigger guys to wrestle. Like, give me some challenges out there. And the original person I went to, Joey Chaos, he laughed at me. He's like, girl, you got to tell Mongs about that one. You got to tell Mongol. And I was like, all right, let me go talk to the other owner. So I went to the other owner. I was like, hey, give me some big guys to wrestle. I want something worth it. I want to struggle. And he started laughing at me. And he's like, girl, you got to earn that. And I was like, give me BC Killer. I asked for the biggest and baddest. I did like the prison part. I'm like, give me BC Killer. Deathmatch wrestled for Santino Brothers, weighs like 350 pounds, like big guy. And he's like laughing at me. He's like, you gotta earn that. And next thing you know, I had one show, and then the next one it was against BC Killer. And as I'm cutting for a promo for this match, I say, I asked for this. I actually did ask for this. I'm being actually truthful. I said, hey, I asked for this. I wanted bigger eyes. And so I'm like, I'm going to prove to you I am an equal opportunity ass kicker. Like I said, that's stuck. So
I love that.
Awesome.
I love when it just comes naturally and it just works.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of big guys that you wanted a match with, I want to talk about this picture right here with Mr. Jacob Fatu. And you say in your caption that you wanted to have a match against him. But I need to know more about this picture. Where did you meet Jacob and how did this come about?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you where I met Jacob because it feels like I've known him for that long where I actually don't remember. So Jacob Fatu is actually a really good friend of mine. I met him somewhere on the indies at some given point, and every time we saw each other, we got along really well. Well, in that getting along well, at some given point, he wound up on the other side of the ring from me at PCW Ultra.
Nice.
And if you look around, there's actually pictures of me literally kicking him in the back, in the face, and stuff like that. He was someone that I enjoyed wrestling with. He's a big guy. the thing, someone let me fight this man. Jacob actually really wanted to wrestle me. Jacob has never had an intergender match. He really wanted to wrestle me. I wanted to wrestle him too, because he's someone who is high flying. He's hard hitting. He's everything that I like to face in the ring. And not sadly, but greatly, it was actually offered for us to have a match, a singles match in Northern California. Unfortunately, neither of us were available the date that they got. So I almost got to wrestle Jacob Fatu as singles. But now he's in WWE and he's doing amazing things. You know what? There's no other spot that he deserves to be, because he's an amazing wrestler, and I'm so glad to see him out there doing some great stuff.
Yeah, and like we talk about the bloodline on this podcast, and like not in a favorable way, but we do give Jacob Fatu his flowers, because he is so good. Like, he shouldn't be able to do moonsaults and do everything that he does, because he's just such a big guy. So we always give him his credit, but we're definitely not a bloodline fans of Solo and them.
He loves him some Solo Sikoa, that's for sure.
He is so athletic. I remember watching him do a moonsault off a cage at PW Ultra, and he's doing this barefoot, by the way. It's like, I mean, there's some people in this wrestling business that definitely just have this amazing athleticism and amazing power behind them. Definitely Jacob is one of them. Willie Mack for another one. Like, it's insane. And I love it. I love seeing people like that. And I love Jacob. I miss him.
Well, hopefully you'll get to see him soon.
When he's done worshiping Solo.
Yeah. Maddie, do you want to talk about your next question?
So obviously you've been wrestling for a very long time. Do you have a favorite opponent that you've wrestled, or somebody you feel you have like the best chemistry with when you step in the ring with them?
Delilah Doom.
Okay.
I don't know if you know who Delilah Doom is, but Delilah Doom.
I've heard the name.
Yeah.
She's she started on the East Coast, then she trained under Funaki in Texas.
Oh, wow.
She came to Southern California for a show, and she wound up just staying here. And me and Delilah have a chemistry like no other, to the point where I've wrestled her across 7 states, I think.
Damn.
I've wrestled her ad nauseum. Like, I've lost track of the matches that we've had each other, but we have the ultimate sort of rivalry and chemistry with each other, where it's like, we've also tagged together. And when we tag together, that goes really well too. But I think people love seeing the dynamic of someone 5'9" wrestling someone who's like 5'3", and this tiny little thing. But it's definitely Delilah Doom.
Well, speaking of people that you have chemistry with, I also want to pull up another picture and talk about your tag team partner, Miss Heidi Howlitzer. Is that how you say it?
Howitzer.
Howitzer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to know, because in women's wrestling, I feel like tag teams are kind of the minority. So what is it like being in a tag team, and how do you feel the tag team wrestling can be improved for women?
I think so. Being in a tag team with Heidi, it's really interesting, because I had met Heidi like once or twice on the indies. The first time I met her, I did not like her. I didn't like what was happening in our match. I didn't like anything.
Oh no!
I didn't really interact with her too much, but she interacted with my partner at that given point. Second time I met her, like, we're fine, everything's cool. Third time I met her, she was being brought into WOW Women of Wrestling, and initially our first match was against each other. And it was a match that took place like literally like on the fly. They're like, hey, someone's hurt. You guys are going to wrestle now. And it's like, oh, okay, we're going to wrestle now. But it went really well. And then people saw us together, and they really just liked us together. They liked our dynamic. And I think that chemistry is one of those things that you can't fake.
Yeah.
There's no way to fake chemistry. And for whatever reason, me and Heidi had it with each other, and she was there at WOW. And now that she's not at WOW, we didn't want to give that up, because we do really well together. So we were tagging on the indies as Las Cochinas, but she just broke her ankle.
No.
It's like
Oh my goodness.
have this weird tag team synergy where if something happens to her, it happens to me. If something happens to me, it happens to her. She broke her ankle in a match, and literally 1 week later, I tore my meniscus in my knee. And so it's like, well, I guess we're both off the shelf for a while. Okay, cool. At least we're both off the shelf together. But
you guys have like a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
real. Like it's for real. And I think it'll be great when we do get back to working conditions.
Yeah.
But it's just it's a little hard to tag because she's out of Kansas and I'm out of California. So it's the distance that makes it hard, but us together is amazing. And honestly, I think the thing that is lacking from women's wrestling when it comes to tag teams is just that genuine chemistry with one another. And when you have it, you know it, and you recognize the tag teams that do have it. Like, let's think about the indies right now, like Hex, Marty and Allison. Allison K. Like that is like one of the great ones. You'll recognize them because you see that they work well together. You honestly, I don't think you can work well together without that big chemistry with someone else.
Yeah.
Likely.
And I mean, do you keep up with like WWE and kind of their women's division? What do you think of their tag team division right now?
Yeah, so Cora Jade and I want to call her Roxy, but Roxanne.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's such a great matchup because they knew each other since the indies. Like, you have this, I don't want to say a feeding system, but when we had Shimmer, you got to meet a lot of other female wrestlers that were in California, even out of country. And I think that's where a lot of people got to be friends with other girls. It was like a meeting ground, a networking area. And then that's where I actually met Cora Jade. And that's where I didn't meet Roxy there. But like, when you cut your teeth from the same cloth, you know it. And you know, if you're coming from the same area, you kind of have that camaraderie. So it's awesome to see that. The one I was super impressed with at Halloween Havoc was, Stephanie, and I'm going to forget the other girl's name.
Julia.
Thank you. Is that her name? Julia. Okay.
Yeah.
That was amazing. And their chemistry with each other and then their style, it just worked. And you want that when it comes to tag teams. You want something that's so seamless and so flawless. And that's why I love me and Heidi, because oddly enough, even though I'm bigger than her, she's the strong one. And I'm the athletic one. I could do the flippy stuff. I could do the dive. I could do stuff like that. But Heidi is actually really strong because she used to be a power lifter. And you have that sort of dynamic that just fits with each other. And like, that's what I saw when I saw the Halloween Havoc match with the tag match. So that was really nice to see.
Well, I really appreciate your insight, like coming from an actual wrestler who's in a tag team, because I feel like it's not talked about enough. So I really appreciate that. We do have a question from Captures by Jonathan, someone that we all know and tolerate. He says, how did you start working on WoW superheroes? So how did you get started in WoW? Did they reach out to you? Did you reach out to them? How did that go about?
Yeah. So I was driving back from somewhere, some given point in my car. And I know exactly where I was on the 210 freeway that's for 3. Sorry. Let's go back to 2019 because I started working with WoW in 2019.
Oh, okay. So a long time.
I was literally sitting in where I'm sitting right now in my office and my phone rings and I'm like, I don't know what this number. I answered it. It's like, hi, this is David McLean from WoW. And I was like, what? What is happening? So literally David McLean called me out of nowhere. But the backstory is that I didn't know at that given point, Princess Aussie actually gave my name. They were looking for someone who was a big, menacing, imposing powerhouse type wrestler. And she's like, I know who that is. Look at my friend Ruby Raze. And so I didn't know that, but my phone just rang out of nowhere and it was David McLean. And I literally had I kid you not, 2.5 hour talk
Wow.
McLean when he called and he was like, "Hey, let me tell you about our company." And at that given point, I was like, "I already know about your company, sir. Just tell me. I will do whatever you want me." Like, you know. But he was really informative. He had told me about the entire company. He told me about the history of the company. He told me about Glow. He told me about this. I was like, tell me things I don't know because I already knew this. And then he explained a lot of things about the contracts and how they run their contracts and this and that. And then he's partway through the conversation, he's like, "If we offer you a contract," blah, blah, blah. And towards the end of the conversation, he's like, "So when I send you this contract," and I was like,
yes.
But yeah, literally the whole reason I am at WoW is because of her, and she knew what they were looking for, and she knew who to put in for, and it was nice to hear that my name had been thrown around the company quite a bit, but I guess they never had that connection, like who could tell us more about her. So it was really nice to have that, and I'm very grateful for her to this day because of that.
Oh, that's so awesome. Like, and we had this, I think, Jessica Roden, J-Rod, I think she has started doing stuff with WoW recently. And do you know her? Like, have you guys crossed paths?
Oh yeah. I agent a couple of women's shows in my off time, and she was one of the people that has come across there. Besides there, she trained at Level Up in Southern California, San Diego specifically, and B-Boy's my best friend, like one of my best friends. So I've met her. Yeah, and she is at WoW. She was there this last taping time. So yeah, it was nice to see her there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and she's been on our show. Now you've been on our show. And I want to get more. So if anybody you know from WoW wants to come on our podcast, please tell them about it.
I can get you a bunch of them.
Well, Maddie, do you have any final questions before we send her off?
I love to ask this to anytime we have a wrestler on. What is your favorite type of match to wrestle?
I like the matches where I feel like I can hardly survive. And what I mean by that, I was very young in the business when I wrestled Candice LeRae, and at that given point, she had been wrestling for a long time. And I felt like I barely hung on to that match, and I barely got through that match. I was within a year of me starting to be a professional wrestler. I wrestled her, Lufisto, Taya Valkyrie. I wrestled for The Crash. I wrestled like for all these like really great companies and with all these amazing female wrestlers. So I like the matches where I feel I'm not going to survive and I'm not going to make this match. I just really might mess something up like really bad, but let's find out. Let's find out. And I really love storytelling matches, which is why I love wrestling with Delilah Doom, because there's always an inbuilt story there. And I love, just anything that really pushes my creativity to the edges. I love that sort of stuff.
That is so cool.
Well, thank you so much, Ruby, for hanging out with us for a bit. We appreciate you so much, and you can come back on anytime you want.
Please, yes.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys.
Have a good rest of your day.
Bye.
Bye.